If you just got your hands on the new Apple Watch, either if it's the Series 6 or even the Apple Watch SE, continue watching this video. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through all the must-known settings that you need to adjust to really get the most out of your Apple Watch. What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing fantastic. So yeah, if you're upgrading from an older Apple Watch, or perhaps this is your first Apple Watch, this is a full video guide of all the new settings to adjust for watchOS 7 and things to really know about if this is your first time using the latest Apple Watch. So sit back, relax, and yes, I'm going to try to maintain a steady pace so everybody could easily follow. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, when you first successfully pair your Apple Watch to your iPhone, it should have already walked you through like the text size that you could adjust. But in case you want to go back and readjust it, it's very simple, and you can also adjust or make the text bold as well. So I'm going to be using the Apple Watch app on the iPhone. You can find these settings on the Apple Watch settings themselves. Everything I'm going to show you on this app is also available here inside the Apple Watch, but to make things easier to follow, I'm going to go and just demonstrate it on the iPhone official Apple Watch app. So right here, literally on the main menu, if you scroll down, go into display and brightness. Here is not only where you could adjust the brightness of the display, but this is where you can find the text size. If you want to manually adjust it in case the text is too small, you could increase it or make the text bulky. Now, right here where it says always on, if you actually go in here, since our watch does have the LTPO hardware, which means our display will always stay on even when the screen is dimmed down. But if you click on here, you could disable that if you want to try to preserve as much battery as possible. But down here below that, you see high sensitive complications. If you go ahead and enable this, any complication that has sensitive information like upcoming business meetings, temperature, your activity rings, all that basically would just be disabled as soon as always on display is enabled. Now let's quickly go back and backtrack. In general, right here where it says automatic app install, and what basically this does, if you have some apps on your iPhone that also work with the Apple Watch, those apps will automatically be installed and appear on your Apple Watch home screen. I personally prefer having this turned off because it's already cluttered enough. I don't need more additional apps unless it's one that I really need, which I could always find in the Apple Watch own app store. Moving along, right below that is airplane mode, and if you actually go ahead and turn off the mirror iPhone feature, you have more controls for other things such as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. If you disable Bluetooth, this will disconnect your Apple Watch from your iPhone. This was one of the newly added features in watchOS 7 because before we weren't able to have these additional options. Now moving along, right below that is Handoff Mode. Now for some reason by default this is turned off. I recommend leaving this on, and what basically Handoff Mode allows you to do is, let's say for example on our Apple Watch we are on Messenger, but you want to quickly switch to your iPhone to quickly reply better or have more options. With Handoff Mode, if you actually launch your app switcher, down here you see that it says the Messenger on Apple Watch. Tap on here, it will quickly take you to the app. This is a cool free feature and I recommend enabling it because it just makes life so much easier. Now below here there's a wake screen option. In here, if you want to increase the time that your display will stay on, just on tap right here, select 70 seconds. To me, I like having the 70 seconds. I think that's enough time that I need to view my screen before I want it to slowly dim down and go back to always on display. But right below that, the return to clock, there's an option where you can actually allow the app to stay or return back to the clock within a certain time. So the way this works, let's say for example you select one with a time. When you open up that app and you close it to close the screen, it will still display the time, but it will also show the application in the background still activated. Now if you disable this entirely, now whenever you do that, it will show the watch face. What I like to personally do is have it to always, and if there's a certain app that I know that I want to always run in the background, if you scroll down and select that app that you want, I'm going to be using my one wheel as an example because it shows me my speed that I'm traveling of my board, which you could watch this video right here if you're curious how my experience has been so far with it. But I like to leave this on custom and then select after crown is pressed. So this means once I launch the app, it's gonna stay and it won't leave until I actually press on the digital crown. That's basically the quick summary on what that does. Now, Nightstand Mode, this is a cool one I recommend to leave enabled, because all it really does is whenever you dock your Apple Watch to charge, it gives you this cool Nightstand Mode. So it'll display the time as well as the battery life percentage of your Apple Watch. And if you tap the little lightning bolt, it'll give you the exact percentage if you're trying to charge it in a hurry. And then of course, down below that is where you could actually find the screenshot feature. If it gets annoying, if you find yourself constantly taking screenshots on accident, just go in here and disable it like that. So now whenever you accidentally press the digital crown and the power button at the same time, it won't take a screenshot randomly. Now if we go back and we go into accessibilities, Chimes was a new feature that they added for the previous OS, watchOS 7. And to this very day, I still love this feature. It's kind of like a grandfather clock. Every time on the hour, or depending on the setting you select, you will get a haptic feedback, or the Apple Watch will play a sound, depending if you leave the Apple Watch in mute or unmute. So here, if you enable it, you could control it by the hour, 30 minutes, or 15 minutes, you'll get a haptic feedback tap. And you have the choice between playing bells or birds. And it'll preview it right there as soon as you select it. Now, if you're not a fan about the button speed on the Apple Watch, if you go down here in the motor speed, click speed right here, you can actually adjust that. So if you want it to be super slow whenever you hit the side button, you could do that right there. Now, Walkie Talkie was a feature that was implemented, I believe, in watchOS 5. I always prefer having this disabled. What basically this allows you to do, when other users have this mode enabled and you're part of your contact, they will randomly be able to walkie talkie you throughout the day without having you to answer the call or something like that. I just like having this off because it just feels really weird. It's cool, but it's weird. Still in the accessibility tab, if you scroll all the way on top, there's a zoom feature right here. If you think that the display of your Apple Watch is still too small for you, by enabling the zoom function, by taking 2 fingers and tapping on the screen, this will zoom in, and you could use your 2 fingers to slide around the display to navigate. And below here, you could also change the zoom level. Now, exiting off accessibility and going all the way back here in docks, this is where you can actually change the order of your docks. In case you're unaware, whenever you tap the side button right here on your Apple Watch, it could do 2 things. It could open up your recently opened applications, or you could select some of your favorite ones. So if we go back to our iPhone, if you select favorites, you could select the apps right here. You could tap edit, move them around, recategorize. It's kind of like bookmarking your apps on demand. So instead of having to navigate the grid or a list view that you may have, you could just put the application that you find yourself recently opening up frequently and put them here. This way you have faster access to them. It's all just a personal preference, but this is a cool nifty feature and setting to definitely know about. Now with watchOS 7, there was the loss of force press, so no longer can we just force press on the display to switch between the grid or the list view on our apps now. So now you actually manually have to go into your settings to do this. Now we're just going to go ahead and do this on the Apple Watch because this is how I'm going to be constantly doing this. Go into your settings and scroll down until you see app view. Right here is where you guys to select between those 2 different viewpoints for your apps. Now back on our app, if you go into sound and haptics, this is another very awesome one to know about. Cover to mute. Have this enabled. It's really awesome. Whenever you're at a meeting or something like that and you get a notification, and it plays a sound because you left your Apple Watch unmuted, by simply covering the display, holding it for a couple of seconds, it's going to give you a haptic feedback and your Apple Watch automatically switches to mute, to silent mode, without you having to manually go into the control center. So that's basically what that does. Now if we go back, underneath that is passcode. Another feature I recommend others to know about is unlock with iPhone. Was this enabled? Now whenever you put on your Apple Watch, you don't have to actually enter the PIN code. As long as your iPhone is nearby and you unlock it with Face ID or your PIN code, your Apple Watch will automatically be unlocked. So gone are the days of you wearing your Apple Watch throughout the entire day to then realize that you weren't receiving any notifications because your device was still locked. Going back here, emergency SOS. This is where you need to go in to enable the side button to quickly dial 911. In case you're unaware, if you hold down the power button for a couple of seconds and you continue holding it, it'll start doing that. Or you can manually slide to quickly get a hold of emergency dispatchers. So if you feel threatened, you're being followed, you can just do that, or just hold it until the countdown ends. But back on our applications, This is where you go in to manually enable fall detection. I forgot the exact age, but I believe if you're over the age of 65, this will be enabled by default. But if you're below 65, you actually manually have to go in here and enable this. Now, my experience with fall detection is that it works really accurately. There has been 3 times where the fall detection did falsely activated, either from me falling, but I managed to get up, or me moving heavy furniture around. Yeah, I had to stop it from dialing 911, but the ringer is so loud that you have plenty of time to cancel it in case it does falsely trigger. But I love to keep this on. You never know. It's better to be safe than sorry. But below that is where you can actually put a contact information for your Apple Watch. This is where you go in and edit that, so whenever somebody gets a hold of your Apple Watch, if you hold down the power button, again, there's a medical card. If you slide on the medical card, it will show your emergency contact phone number information. And if you'd like to know more where you could go and edit your medical card information, that can be located in the Health app on your iPhone. And lastly, very similar to how your iPhone can unlock your Apple Watch, well, your Apple Watch can also unlock your Mac computers that you may have laying around. As long as your 2 devices are connected to the same iCloud account, linked with the same account, if you actually go into your Mac in its settings, system preferences, and you go into security and privacy, here is where you can find the list of Apple Watches that you have. You can select the Apple Watch that you wanted it to have this feature. By selecting it, now whenever you're near your device, as long as you're within a couple of feet, your Apple Watch will automatically unlock it to give you a faster login time, instead of you having to manually enter your passcode. I find this feature extremely useful, especially if you're using a MacBook that does not have Touch ID. And there you guys have it. Some of them happen to be some very useful hidden settings, like the Unlock Mac feature. It's not really getting talked about as much anymore, but like I stated, if you rely on your MacBook a lot, this is a must-know feature. Now, before you click off this video, make sure you are subscribed, because I have an updated version of this video over here coming out very soon, where I go through a bunch of awesome tips and tricks under 5 minutes or less. And then that video over there, that's just a video that YouTube is recommending specifically for you. Feel free to watch either or. Again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.